going on, everybody? I can't hear myself in my ears. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Truly Inconsequential. We are welcoming in our Wednesday wonderfully here with another episode with Mr. Greer and Old Brim. I can hear myself. Thank you so much. What do you call it? And the more important thing is for you guys to actually hear, what do you call it? What we're saying.
And they can.
Not us. They care. Yeah. Well, Jose cares. Jose's here. He says, O-S-H-I-T. He says, can't wait to get that one-time intern check for doing Tom's job.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It's both our jobs, let's just say. This is a communal effort, and we had this idea like months ago, Jose. Don't worry about it, but I appreciate your input.
Lisa says this should be a good one.
It's going to be an interesting one.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday back at you.
Thank you for the share and the like, Jose. Thank you for the share and the like, Lisa.
Yes. What do you call it? Anybody who's on, as you come in, please make sure you hit us up right here in the chat because we want to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear your thoughts. What do you call it? So this episode, again, it's Garfield versus Heathcliff. Very, very different, very interesting situation that we have here because essentially, they are main characters. We wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit special. I know other people had suggested we do a Garfield and a Heathcliff. I just... To be completely blunt about it, they are both pretty much consequential to their shows simply because of they're the main characters. Yeah. However, at the end of the day, which one's going to be more consequential? That's the real story here.
Yeah, it's I guess it's more of like who's a more consequential person in television and pop culture as a whole.
Well, Cat.
I'm sorry. Cat. It's a cat. It's a cat's voiced by people. It's weird. But what I mean is like, because obviously, like we're saying, you can't say which one is consequential to their shows because, without either of them, their shows don't exist. So,
right.
This is kind of a different take of Truly Inconsequential, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Christopher says, I grew up with Garfield.
Who didn't?
That's the thing.
That's the problem. You see, that's my gripe with all of this is like, so you guys, we can decide who we're going to start with, or are we just going to go with Garfield to start the show?
We can go with Garfield, absolutely.
Because I think Garfield's consequential to pop culture and television, comic books as a whole. Because for one, I know who Garfield is. Like I had to look. I loosely had an idea of who Heathcliff was, but I had to do a little bit of research and look him up. I know who Garfield transcends everything from when you were a kid to before you, probably. I'm assuming
it's like a Snoopy thing.
Yeah, it's like a Snoopy thing. Like Garfield goes from what spans your generation, my generation, and even a little bit of a generation after me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, who's Heathcliff?
Now, Heathcliff is the badass version of Garfield, essentially.
We'll get to Heathcliff,
and we will get to him.
Talking about Garfield.
We will get to him. So Garfield, I do agree. I think that Garfield is he is a staple in pop culture history. Garfield has essentially been like, They've made the full live versions of Garfield, which I'm not necessarily crazy about.
Didn't Bill Murray voice Garfield at one point?
He did, and I don't know how why that was even a thing, and I think he kind of ruined Garfield, to be completely honest.
I didn't even see the movie. I think my little brother saw the movie and was a big fan, but he was probably 9 when that movie came out. So
yeah, hello Sandra. I think Garfield is pretty instantly recognizable. This is true.
Yeah, you just say the sentence, somebody's got a case of the Mondays, or I hate Mondays, and the minute you're just probably thinking of Garfield holding like a coffee cup or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sitting in a chair. Like he's just associated with so many more things beyond his comic book, his movies, or his comic strip, his movies, and the TV show. Exactly, lasagna. Like Garfield is just such a memorable, instantly noticed character that he's arguably one of the, I would have to say in pop culture, he's probably one of the most consequential characters we've ever debated about or ever had to bring up on the show.
Yeah.
All of them.
I can give you that.
Sandra's kids love the Bill Murray Garfield movie, so it must be amazing. They're your kids, Sandra.
Here's the thing, like, I love Garfield, and I loved Garfield from the very beginning. When I was in elementary school, we're talking about back in the prehistoric days, I actually did we were learning paper mache, and I made, Garfield and his owner, John, as little hand puppets. We're talking about elementary school. Yeah. So that's how far back that goes with me. And then you had, like, Odie and all these other characters. To be honest, Garfield has always been a mainstay. So I can't really argue against Garfield as being consequential or not consequential. I guess, it comes down to where did his decline begin? I think his decline really started with the live action, because the cartoons back when, and we'll get to Heathcliff, but back when Heathcliff cartoons rivaled Garfield cartoons. So that's where, we're going to have a little bit of a conversation. But, Garfield in general, with the live movies were a big deal, but even Bill Murray hates the fact that he was Garfield. They made fun of it in, what's the zombie movie? Zombieland 2.
Zombieland 2.
You know what I mean? They made fun of the damn thing.
I thought he was in the first Zombieland.
He was in both.
Yeah, he was in both.
Yeah, he was in both.
Garfield is huge. He was on every kid's lunchbox and office desk calendars of the 80s. Totally agree.
The Garfield car clingers.
Garfield car clingers, awesome. He practically kept Hallmark stores open in the 90s.
That's true.
Fair. Garfield is number 3 ranked comic strip of all time. Can't do away with Garfield, according to Watch Mojo. That is. No, exactly. Like Garfield transcends just a cartoon, just a comic strip. He's in posters, like you said, lunchboxes. Jose. He was on car clingers. Like Garfield is still he might not have a cartoon anymore, but he is still all over the place. Like everybody's gonna know Garfield when you first look at him. I mean, the person that's kind of inconsequential. I think personally, the most inconsequential person in Garfield is his owner, John.
Yeah,
he's just such a bland, nothing character that you could have had him be a character in like an adult in the Peanuts, where you just hear want like John could have been off screen, not saying anything, just acknowledge that Garfield has an owner, and it would have been just fine. You know what I mean? John stinks.
I'm with you on that. What do you call it? They have a Garfield Netflix
I didn't
series.
even know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that too. But see, is that an issue?
No, well, I mean, like I don't necessarily think Garfield. I don't think the Garfield cartoon is. I don't know if that's made for me. It's maybe made to try to keep kids invested, you know what I mean?
Brian.
I may have remembered that there was a Garfield cartoon. I just not off the top of my head.
You got Brian?
Yes, I agree. The live animation did more harm than good for Garfield's comics. But did more good and harm for who? I mean, like maybe the original Garfield fans didn't like the Garfield animated movie, but I know kids around my age, or maybe probably a little younger, because those movies came out when I was a little older.
Right.
Did like those movies. They did enjoy those movies. Maybe it wasn't for the original Garfield fandom.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Alvin and the Chipmunks. You know what I mean? Like I loved the cartoon when I was younger, but at the end of the day, did I really hated what they did, like with Scooby-Doo, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
We're going to disagree in the whole Scooby-Doo first live-action movie. The Scooby-Doo, whatever, I think it was like Monster Island or something like that. Great movie. Freddie Prinze Jr. is Fred.
Daphne. Buffy was Daphne.
What was her
Sarah
name?
Michelle Gellar.
Well, who was Velma?
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
She was awesome. What do you call it? I think actually no. Jose said he made lasagna cool to eat. Yes, he did. I can remember ordering lasagna at a pizza place as a kid just to pretend I was him.
There you go.
Exactly. I mean, like who didn't love lasagna after? But I feel like lasagna sometimes doesn't look as good as it does in a Garfield cartoon. It's like how cartoon food looks so much better than real food. I think even Pookie is more important than John. Yeah, John stinks. John started off in the first script as a cartoonist. A breaking of the fourth wall for Jim Davis, the author. Okay, that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Thank you for that little insight, Brian.
See, Brian's good with that stuff.
Brian knows all this stuff. Brian is I still am bummed that Brian was not here for Pluto versus Woodstock.
John could be replaced by Nermal and Binky the Clown. Nermal. It was funny because I was thinking that we should do Nermal versus Odie. Or Nermal versus what do you call it?
Now that we did Garfield and Heathcliff, we'll have to take a step away from Garfield for a little bit. But.
Yeah. What's the?
Don't be sorry, Brian. You're doing a good job. I appreciate your insight. Yeah, the people in the chat are just as important as me and Brim.
Yeah. Do you guys? So and not to jump to Heathcliff at all, but like Riff
Raff.
Raff.
3 minutes until we got to get to Heathcliff.
Riff Raff was like his counterpart in in Heathcliff. He was like the cat that was worse than Heathcliff. You know what I mean? So but that character even, it's like you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I'm sorry, Tom. Why are you sorry?
Yeah. I would say don't be sorry, Brian. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah. No, of course. So I think that it really is again. In this situation, especially what it's going to come down to is what came first, the chicken or the egg. Garfield came first. And I think without Garfield, Heathcliff probably would not have been a thing, because I think what they were looking to do was compete with some kind of a property, an IP that could be similar to Garfield, because again, you have that orange cat, You know what I mean? But instead of it being a lazy, good for nothing, which Garfield pretty much was, he made lazy cool. You had this badass cat, Heathcliff, who ate fish, dumped into dumpsters, didn't eat the fancy food. He just wanted anything. He scrapped. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like a completely different dynamic. But Heathcliff also was a comic strip. You know what I mean? That turned into a cartoon. That turned into, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think they did a movie with him, though.
I can look. I don't think so. I mean, I looked up the Heathcliff cartoon. It looks like it was just a TV series that started in '84.
Yeah, Brian says the only two comic strips that beat out Garfield was Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes is great. I love Calvin and Hobbes.
How many times did Garfield kick Odie? Enough. Enough.
Sandra says both funny cats and both started as comic strips, but was there more of a merchandise push for Garfield and Heathcliff? Yes, there was.
That's the thing. So I guess at this point we should shift over to Heathcliff. I'm just gonna say Heathcliff is inconsequential because look, Garfield's been around forever. I know who Garfield is. I've always known who Garfield is. I didn't know who Heathcliff was until you brought him up.
Really?
I recognized the cat. I've maybe seen him before. I did not know his name or who he was until you told me, and I looked him up. I was like, oh, that's Heathcliff.
So now, and Jose said both cartoons look like they started in '84. I'm pretty positive. Well, on the cartoon side, yes. But the strips themselves, Garfield came out first. Here's the thing. Now, I liked Heathcliff. I was not a Heathcliff hater. I am not a Heathcliff hater. I actually enjoy Heathcliff. It's just, I don't think it's like the chicken before the egg. What came first? Garfield came first. Heathcliff came after. Heathcliff was the complete opposite of what Garfield was, and I think that was refreshing. I think that because now I'm going to take it a step further. And let's put the comic strip and the movie aside, and let's go to the cartoon. The Heathcliff cartoon was bigger as a cartoon than Garfield was as a cartoon.
But he wasn't...
Surprisingly, but it's true.
But he wasn't big enough of a cartoon to keep him going.
I agree with that.
Look...
I'm playing devil's advocate.
I know you're playing devil's advocate, but I'm saying as a character, sure, they both had really good cartoons. Sure, Heathcliff's cartoon. I mean, was Heathcliff voiced by Mel Blanc? Am I seeing that correctly? I mean, I'd hate to say anybody that's voiced by Mel Blanc is inconsequential because he's absolutely amazing. But where the cartoons probably rivaled each other a little bit, maybe Heathcliff's was a little better. His cartoon wasn't good enough or memorable enough for the long haul to keep him as relevant as Garfield is. You know what I mean?
Fair. Garfield was also in the Thanksgiving Day parade, as to where I don't remember if Heathcliff was.
Sandra says, I can barely remember Heathcliff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, now Heathcliff, it wasn't just... And now here's the thing. For Heathcliff's cartoon, he was not the only character. There were multiple characters, multiple cat characters. One of them, like I said, was Riff Raff. Now, Riff Raff was the antithesis to, you know what I mean, to Heathcliff, and he was like a worse version of Heathcliff. Heathcliff was one of the street cats. You know what I mean, where he was just a bad cat. You know what I mean, and and Heathcliff. I'm sorry, and Riff Raff was worse than Heathcliff was. So I think it was just back when it was like a bunch of, I don't want to say bad boys, but like bad cats. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which made it kind of a cool show at the time. And they were both always after the girl, and the girl was I guess an important character. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But Heathcliff was fun. It was a fun show. So for the people that were growing up, the kids growing up at that time, I think that the cartoon, well exceeded what Garfield was at that point in time. Now, don't get me wrong. Garfield, I enjoy much more than I enjoy, Heathcliff. But you got to give credit where credit's due.
Oh no, I'll give Heathcliff in a sense of that he was a character that they tried
Cadillacs.
They tried to take the character of Garfield and give him a rival. You know what I mean? Give him a character that's sort of similar, but the personalities are different. And, you could basically, by look, you can say, okay, Heathcliff definitely got inspiration from Garfield. Yeah. So I'm not saying that his cartoon wasn't good, and I'm not saying he wasn't a good character, right. But what I mean is when we're talking about consequentiality, within pop culture, we
can also say for his show, though, Tom, because it wasn't Heathcliff itself. It was like Heathcliff and Friends. it wasn't just Heathcliff. He was part of the title, but he was not necessarily always the main character.
So then are you saying he's inconsequential?
He might be inconsequential.
But I don't know, because I think without Heathcliff, you wouldn't. I still don't think without Heathcliff, you wouldn't have the show.
You'd have Riff Raff instead of Heathcliff.
Yeah, but then it's a different show. It's not the same show. The show is called Heathcliff.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sandra says, I can barely remember Heathcliff. Jose, yeah, he was voiced by him. I grew up on Heathcliff, Jose says. Sandra says, Mel Blanc couldn't even save Heathcliff, and that man was in so many of my cartoon memories.
Mel Blanc is literally, at the top of the list of greatest voiceover actors to ever be a cartoon. You know what I mean? Did Heathcliff have any he did not like? What
does that mean?
Yeah, what do you mean by that, Christopher? But I again appreciate your input. Garfield was Garfield and Friends. I guess that's true. Garfield
that's
Garfield
true
had
too.
himself Friends.
That's
you want to take Jose's?
Heathcliff would have never outlived Garfield, since Garfield had the merchandising machine behind him, and they managed to get him 4 years in the 90s. That would help him connect more with kids and memories. You want to get Sandra?
But didn't they have the Garfield and Friends show as well, and he still stood out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Enemies, he said.
Oh, got you.
Did not have. Okay, so he didn't have any enemies. Well,
the Cadillac Cats, which was the group, weren't they? I could have sworn they were Heathcliff's enemies, and I could be wrong because it's been a while.
Yeah,
I mean?
But I wonder. I really wondered. I would love to have that conversation. Like, what made Heathcliff not be able to get the marketing and the drive behind him the same as Garfield did? Because I mean, if you really think about it, at its crux, Garfield's a pretty bland character as it is. You know, he's a pretty I feel like he's almost like he's a little bit more upbeat version of Droopy Dog. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not to knock Garfield. I like him. I love the Garfield cartoons. Garfield as a character is really cool. But it's like the same thing with wrestling, like how everybody loves a heel. Like you would imagine that everybody would love Heathcliff because he was this kind of renegade rogue character.
Right.
But I could tell you he never got the staying power that Garfield did. Like he never got the full support that Garfield did. And I wonder what that reasoning really is.
Heathcliff, by the way, is still out currently. And he started comic strip, and it started in 1973.
Okay.
And I don't know about Garfield at this point right this second. The TV series was 1984, like Jose said.
Yeah, they both came out around then.
What do you call it? I want to know what company, if anybody knows or can figure it out. So this way I'm not ignoring you guys. What company launched the Heathcliff?
Well, he stood. This Jose. Well, he stood out because he had one more color in his design. Garfield has such a memorable design compared to Heathcliff. I think that played a role. Also, he had better supporting crowd of characters in Garfield. I guess that's very true. Again, I never really watched the Heathcliff cartoons regularly. I just know of the character himself. Christopher says we need a droopy dog face off. That'd have been funny as hell. Maybe because it was just cooler to have a cat that just loves lasagna. I guess that's true. The cat that just loves lasagna. I mean, I guess it was just something about Garfield and the look of Garfield that kept people's attention and kept people loving the character because
I think yes. What I think is that people were able to empathize with Garfield, even though it was a cat. People as humans could empathize with the character, whether they were cat lovers or just in general. I hate Mondays. I really want to eat this. Kind of like the Kathy comic strip.
Yeah.
If you remember Kathy, she was very, very. You could empathize with that character. Women in the young women, women in their middle-aged years, and even going into their older years. Essentially, you could empathize with different characters in that strip, and I think that's what gives that the longevity. Garfield, you can empathize with the characters, into where Heathcliff is just a cartoon.
I guess that makes sense.
Or just a comic strip?
Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. Kip says Garfield against who? Exactly. Heathcliff. I really didn't know much of Heathcliff until I had to do a little bit of research on him. It was simple and funny. I guess that's true. Garfield was pretty simple and funny. Danielle says Garfield and Friends was 1988, which I feel like is even more of a damning thing on Heathcliff.
Yeah.
Heathcliff had 4 years on Garfield.
Garfield had had multiple shows.
Had multiple shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think they started out as Garfield, and then when Garfield got old, it became Garfield and Friends.
Phil Roman produced the Garfield show. Appreciate your help, Jose. See, everybody watching and listening, you guys are just as much important to this as we are. So, like I always say, please like, share, keep commenting, keep following us. All the interaction pushes us through the almighty algorithm, so everybody can see what we're doing today.
So and yes, you're absolutely right. But I wanted to get back onto a thought that I had, and the reason why I was trying to figure out who Heathcliff, what company Heathcliff was with, is because there are certain characters that should have gotten a bigger push and should have gotten more marketing. They should have had more screen time. And when you're thinking about the grand scheme of things, a lot of the Hanna-Barbera characters, didn't get that screen time that they should have gotten, or the marketing that they should have gotten, as opposed to some of the other, So like, yeah. I'm wondering right now if if Garfield just. You know what I'm saying? That he just had a better marketing team. Is what it comes down to.
Maybe that's it. I think Garfield also is a more appealing looking cartoon character than Heathcliff is. Heathcliff just kind of looks like a regular old, like he did. I don't know. I feel like there's still a difference in a more appealing look to Garfield than Heathcliff. Just looks like a generic cat cartoon character. You know what I mean?
Perhaps.
I feel like there isn't anything super memorable about him.
But then look at Marmaduke. You know what I'm saying? Like Marmaduke, what's so special about Marmaduke except he's this big, ginormous dog? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Clifford. They're both red. They're both big.
Tom and Jerry, or Simpsons, Itchy and Scratchy. That's very funny.
Danielle says Youngins. Oh yeah, because you didn't know who Heathcliff was.
I have seen Heathcliff.
Yeah.
Before this, I have seen Heathcliff. I just didn't know much about the cartoon. I didn't really remember his name, but I physically, before we brought this up, have seen the character before. Like, I knew what he looked like. I just didn't necessarily know his name, or I didn't watch the cartoon.
And by the way, Sandra says it came down to who was easier to market.
Yeah, but I don't know. But again, like with the character description that we're getting out of Heathcliff, I don't know what it has to be just based on look. I don't know what would make him as a character less marketable than Garfield, because he's the rebel character. He's the rebel type character, and everybody loves a bad guy.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I just wanted to hit that one point that I was going to hit. Coming back to the Hanna-Barbera characters. Apparently, they're doing a whole reboot of Hanna-Barbera characters. It's called. Danielle showed it to me the other day. It's called Jellystone Park or something, and it's on either HBO or one of those different and it's all the characters just in like a really new style, which I'm not necessarily crazy about. But so maybe they'll get their second chance at marketing though.
That would be cool.
And Jose says, but this goes back to what you guys are saying. Garfield had a lot of subjects about mundane life that people connected with. A lot of office people would have liked short comic strips taped to the cubicle wall, complaining about everyday life stuff. Agreed. Marmaduke.
Yeah, that's got to be Marmaduke was kind of a slapstick comedy of a big dog. Right. I get that. Heathcliff was more of a goofy rebel character that was designed for kids. You see, that's got to be it. Is that Garfield transcends generations. Like, Garfield's for your kids, Garfield's for your teenagers, Garfield's for your adults when you're sad and you're going to work thumping your 9 to 5 every day. So I guess that's really what it comes down to, is just Garfield is just more of an accepting character between everybody, where Heathcliff is more of you're going to bring in the little kids that are going to be watching Saturday morning cartoons every day, you know what I mean? So that kind of limits who you're advertising for. Sandra says not just look, but what was easier to market to kids, an alley bad cat or a cat that eats lasagna and is fat? I guess that kids I would argue that it's alley bad cat, because you'd have fun. But
Heathcliff had the better theme song.
Yeah.
That's true, Jose.
I'm sure he did.
That is true.
I'm sure he did.
Didn't Heathcliff? Did they ever do? They didn't do a Heathcliff live action. I'm pretty sure they did.
Not a chance. There's no way.
No. I don't know, man. It says something, Heathcliff live action movie. I wonder if they're thinking it. Heathcliff is an upcoming American comedy film. Oh wow, they were supposed to do a Heathcliff in 2018, possibly. Wait, and it said it released on April 13th, 2018. Is this real?
Maybe somebody did it on their own.
I don't know.
My alley
this
cat.
is Idea Wiki.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is an Idea Wiki.
Christopher says, my alley cat is Tomcat. Makes sense.
Tomcat. Okay.
Sanj says, nope.
Wait, let's see. Well, Heathcliff gets CGI live-action feature film treatment, and that was in 2012. If Garfield can spawn 2 feature-length films, then why not Heathcliff? Okay, interesting. So there were plans to do it, but I don't think it ever happened.
It's probably just because there was no interest. Like, Heathcliff.
Well, they did Casper. They did Stuart Little.
Heathcliff predates Garfield by 5 years.
Alvin. You know what I mean? Like, they did a lot of these characters that, they didn't do Marmaduke. I'm shocked that they never did a Marmaduke. No, wait. No, they did. They did do a Marmaduke, didn't they?
A Marmaduke movie?
Movie.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, boo.
But regardless, even in that case, Danielle, like, again, Heathcliff doesn't transcend. Like, nobody really knows who Heathcliff is. I just, you know.
Is that true? Wait, did Heathcliff come before Garfield? Then maybe maybe Garfield was a ripoff of Heathcliff instead of vice versa. I could have been wrong, and if I'm wrong, then there we go. Then that's an argument. You know what I mean? Then it might be a who came first, chicken or the egg. Who the character themselves in the films in the comic strip. Who came first? Sandra says my kids have the DVD. Jose found the theme song.
Garfield. This is a first episode date. I don't know what the comic strip is.
Yeah, wanna find out.
First episode date for Heathcliff was September 17th, 1984. First episode date of Garfield was September 17th, 1988.
Yeah, but then think of also. I want to know the cartoon character itself, the comic strip character. So when did it come? Like Heathcliff, we said before was 73. It was a year before I was born. When did Garfield come out?
Garfield comic strip was created in 78, and then
okay, and then so Garfield came after Heathcliff. So Garfield was a ripoff of Heathcliff.
73.
Oh,
73 was Heathcliff.
Yeah, so Heathcliff came first. Garfield might have had the longevity, but maybe the chunky orange cat. I think that Garfield must have been a ripoff of Heathcliff. So without Heathcliff, then Heathcliff must be consequential.
But I don't know. But I don't necessarily know if. But because I'm looking at the wiki right now, I'm looking at a little bit of information. I don't think it doesn't necessarily say that Garfield got the inspiration from
Heathcliff.
I
don't know if they would admit it. Jose, it's hard to tell if this was commercial. Garfield came first. He came in the 70s. They both came in the 70s.
Yeah.
Danielle says we're ready. Where the hell did it go? Come on, we're ready to party. We're ready. I hope you bring lots of spaghetti. Okay, I don't remember that, but that's
but I don't understand why. I agree with kind of what Danielle says. I don't
comic.
understand why you have to say like one is a ripoff of the other.
They're the same. It's the same color scheme, the same color.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
No, because
they're not the same character.
Me going into it, I said that Heathcliff was a blatant ripoff of Garfield. But
but I don't necessarily. But again, I don't necessarily know if there's a proof that you say that he's a blatant ripoff. Like, whereas if you're saying like he definitely got that inspiration from Heathcliff, and regardless of the fact, it's similar to what Jose said earlier. Garfield relates to, and kind of what we were saying, Garfield relates to everybody, kids, teenagers, adults, with the type of character that he is. Heathcliff just relates to kids and didn't have the longevity that Garfield has currently.
But hold on a second. Just because they might have ripped off the idea of a character doesn't mean that Garfield's not a better character. Don't get me wrong.
But I don't necessarily
it's like a bigger, better version of, you know what I'm saying,
but
the original.
I don't necessarily think you can definitively say that one is a ripoff of the other.
It's a cat that's orange with black markings. What do you call it? And, if there was success with Heathcliff, that the creators of Garfield, maybe it's a slightly different story.
But the fact that you have to say maybe doesn't necessarily prove that it isn't a definitive ripoff.
I mean, again, we don't know. I'm not in the creators' minds. But if it came out after, it's kind of like which came first, chicken or the egg, Star Wars or Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, one got the idea from the other and just went in a different direction with it. Doesn't make one better or worse than the other in that situation, because they're both very successful. However, Star Wars is a lot more successful than Star Trek because they have a lot more properties and a lot bigger of features and so forth. But we're not on that. We're on Heathcliff and Garfield.
I'm just
we're missing a lot of really good stuff here. So let's go back a little bit. Where did we come to? It was Jose says, "Ooh, what a twist." Danielle said, "Why is one a ripoff?" I just explained that. Lyrics from the song, we got that. People drew cat comics, 2 different personalities, etc. I get that too. Doesn't mean it's a ripoff. Again, people get it ripoff. Maybe I should have said inspiration. It's the same thing. It's they must have gotten inspiration of a orange cat. You know what I mean? And they were successful with this. How can we change it and make it's about not reinventing the wheel. You know what I mean? Something's working. How can we make it work and then make it better? You know, so again, I'm not saying that they completely ripped them off. I'm saying in general, like, orange cat, successful. Let's take that, let people empathize with the cat, and here we go. It's a little bit of a twist, but I mean, see where I'm coming from.
No,
here.
I understand where you're coming from. Star Wars is better. Duh. No, of course, Danielle. Star Wars is better. We're talking a few years difference, and both came from comics. Tom, I know that, Jose. Jeez,
Jose. Oh my God, Garfield ripped off Heathcliff and became a commercial success, and it did. Danielle said it's simply an orange cat, but you know, when we're talking about in entertainment, the world of trademarks and the world of IP and things when they're too similar to each other, you know, you can't. There can be issues there. Star Wars is better. We know you said that already. Jose, of course, there was some here. He most likely than not did rip him off. Chris, what did you think of the updated Garfield show? I can't stand anything that they're doing with those. You know, the blockier characters, like they're doing like the Rugrats and all that jazz now. You want to take from Danielle?
Trying to remember theme songs has me over here singing Denver the Last Dinosaur.
Oh, Lord.
That's funny. Garfield got much bigger with the same basic idea of a fat orange cat. They had similar ideas and made it much more popular.
That I agree.
If they did, Garfield had his story resonate more with people.
Agreed, which we said. We agree with that.
It's the wars,
we
bro.
agree with that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
people can empathize.
I don't necessarily think one coming before the other generally necessarily makes one more consequential than the other, because Garfield, like I said, Garfield's the more because again, we're debating who's more consequential to pop culture and to the world as a whole at this point.
Right.
And at this point, I would have to say that it would be Garfield, because more people are going to resonate and know Garfield and be able to relate to Garfield and just know what they're looking at when you see Garfield than they are with Heathcliff.
Follow me on this. Now, so Danielle says here, Heathcliff was a street cat hanging in the junkyard. Garfield was a grumpy house cat who ate a lot. Now, follow me on this. Now,
we do have to go soon, by the way.
Yes. I want to make a point, and then I'm going to make a proposal. So my point here is, yes, now years later, and now that the cat passed, but we had Grumpy Cat. Grumpy Cat, and the whole idea of Grumpy Cat was because the cat looked grumpy, but Grumpy Cat was a ripoff in terms of the character, when they were talking about character, of Garfield's Grumpy Cat, and they basically took what Garfield did and then just modernized it and made it better, quote-unquote, because they made it into something, a popular, quote-unquote, meme. You know what I'm saying?
I think comparing Grumpy Cat to Garfield's reaching a little bit. Because it's literally just
look at the cat. It's an angry-looking cat that kind of looks like Garfield,
well,
just
no,
different color.
Well, I understand that, but I think that they're playing it more off of just the cat itself. I don't
Maybe.
necessarily think that they were just taking Garfield's
Maybe.
likeness to do that. You know, I think it's just this cat looks grumpy, I'm gonna make it a meme. I think that's more than likely where that came from.
But but you know, entertain me on it. You know what I mean?
I'll entertain you on it, but I think
it.
of all of your arguments, that one was a little bit of a reach.
Okay.
I don't.
Danielle says nice reach also.
Yeah.
But listen, this is what I'm going to propose. The fact that Heathcliff could have been the inspiration for Garfield's spin, I would like to make Heathcliff consequential. However, Garfield, I believe, should win over Heathcliff as overall consequential.
There's no thanks for participation medals here. You're either consequential or you're not consequential.
I think he is consequential.
Garfield's more consequential than Heathcliff.
Again, Garfield is consequential.
So then, for the basis of the
argument,
Garfield's consequential. Heathcliff is inconsequential.
In the end situation, of course, we have to figure out what the audience says. But what I'm saying is, like, Heathcliff, I feel, has some he is consequential in his own right. I think that he did pave the way for a Garfield character. I really do. I think that they took the character and made it better. To be completely honest, looking at it in a quote-unquote business and entertainment view, I think that's what's happening there.
Mhm.
But, just in general, I think they're both consequential characters. I think that they both, Heathcliff did not necessarily stand the test of time, and Garfield had a better marketing team and a better strategy in terms of continuing the IP. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Garfield, in my opinion, is overall consequential and beats Heathcliff. So
because they really are two separate, completely separate,
Yeah.
not even have anything to do with each other kind of characters. You know what I
I
mean?
agree. Garfield, I agree. Garfield wins.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we shouldn't discount Heathcliff in pop culture history. He's nowhere near as big as Garfield is, and I think it's because Garfield happened. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I think it's
but
the writing team and the marketing.
Yeah,
but
I think so. There's the proof Heathcliff came first. He had the edge of being first, but Garfield was able to dominate and become much more memorable than Heathcliff. Absolutely. Danielle says, nice reach. Kim says, yeah, that's reaching it. They're playing it off his face. Yeah, of course. Grumpy Cat stands alone as a unique-looking cat. Tom is correct. The cat had an angry facial structure, hence memes. You can meme anything. Do you want to keep going?
Garfield consequential. Yeah, no, I agree. Sandra, no, they both don't get medal. Garfield wins hands down. No. But I'm saying, well, look, we have two sections of the show. One is is each character consequential or inconsequential, and then they go head to head. So they can both be consequential.
They can be, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have to.
Pick one.
Who's truly inconsequential?
Truly inconsequential is Heathcliff. Between the two.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Garfield is more well known in the grand scheme, and therefore technically more consequential. Jose, they're both consequential. The recorded history clearly points to a very good possibility that Garfield was a byproduct of Heathcliff, and they both wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Felix the cat. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but that's a good point.
Well, no, that is a good point because Felix the cat was a cat character. So then are you assuming that everybody? So then that's what I mean. Like, so are we ultimately saying that both of them are consequential because Felix is a thing? You know what I mean? So. I think the character as a whole within pop culture has to mean something more than us guessing that this guy who did Garfield took it from Heathcliff.
Right.
Because ultimately we're just guessing.
But here's the thing. Felix was a black and white cat, where Garfield and Heathcliff are both orange cats.
Yeah, I know, but he was a cat I'm just saying he was a cat cartoon. That it's just animal cartoon characters. They get inspiration from each other.
Yeah.
But again, it's semantics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to take from Danielle?
Yeah, sure. Also enough with the remake. Stop making crappy live action movies ruining our childhoods.
Yes.
Absolutely agree. Both important for pop culture, but Garfield worked more. I honestly don't even think Heathcliff is important for pop culture at this point. Haha, Danielle. There's too many characters and animals out there. Can't all be based off one another. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I think that you can get inspiration from other characters and stuff like that. But
two Butterball orange tabby cats within a couple of years of each other in the 70s.
I agree.
When it was a blank canvas, and you could come up with anything. It's not a stretch.
It's not a stretch to say, but you can't definitively say that he got.
No, you can't.
And you're never going to be able to know that he definitively took it from Heathcliff. So I'm just looking at it from a generic, these two characters are in front of me basis. I'm not going to put my own opinions onto how they were created. I'm just looking at them as a whole, and Garfield, it doesn't even edge out closely. Like, Garfield is light years more important to pop culture and more relevant in pop culture than Heathcliff is right now.
Right.
Do you want to take it from Sandra?
Yeah. What do you call it? Well, Danielle said, did they even run in the same papers? Yeah, they did. Sandra said, well, you could trace anything that came from an original comic or cartoon. So, yes, they could both be consequential. But in terms of relevance right now, Garfield wins. Agreed. Jose, give it up. Tom, just admit he is a ripoff.
I'm not going to admit anything, Jose.
Jose makes the show every week. We should just make him part of the cast. Yeah. Danielle says, you have to remember times were very different. I agree.
I just want to let you know, Jose, we're working on a T-shirt idea, and it's just going to be Brim's face, and it's going to say Brim's biggest fan, and we're going to send it to you.
So what's the end verdict? Both important, but Garfield is overarching consequential.
Garfield wins. Heathcliff is inconsequential.
Yeah.
He's truly inconsequential.
Yeah, Heathcliff is truly inconsequential.
I need to get a graphic made for that.
Yeah, that'd be what for
like a graphic to or like just something to do for when somebody's inconsequential. Not poor Jose. Jose's great. Everybody in this chat is great.
Everybody's fantastic. What do you call it? I think Heathcliff wins a gold lasagna. He's good, and
you mean
he wins?
Garfield wins the gold lasagna?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
You said Heathcliff.
Oh,
wins
I meant
the gold
Garfield.
Lasagna.
Garfield wins the gold lasagna, and Tom's such an angry.
I'm so unbelievably happy. You have no idea. I agree with Kimberly. I'm happy because everybody's here, so I'm not angry whatsoever. Poor Jose, you're gifting him a T-shirt. Exactly. It's more of a token of appreciation.
No, she's saying because it's a shirt with me on it.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, jackass. What do you call it? Anyway, so I think so. Garfield reigns supreme, and again, that's what we thought. Freudian slip, Brim. that's what we thought. I mean, I figured going in that Garfield was going to win, but I also thought that Garfield came first. So that actually screwed me up. That actually screwed up my argument a little bit because I could see it going both ways. That being said, that's all the time we have, ladies and gents. We went a little overtime today, but it was a really good chat, and we enjoyed that tremendously. Thanks so much for tuning in to Truly Inconsequential. Garfield, overall winner. As Mr. Greer always says,
rate, review, subscribe, and like I said, everybody, thank you so much for being here, being a part of the chats. Even you, Jose, even though you seem like the angry one right now. Thank you for being a part of the chats. If you guys could, please always like, share the streams. They're much appreciated because, the more you do that, the more people get to see us, and that makes it more fun for us, and we have more people involved. So, again, thank you guys for being here. Rate, review, subscribe.
Make sure you hit us up on Thursday for an all-new episode of the Grindhouse Radio.
Yes.
Every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're going to catch Tom and I here live. So please make sure you spread the word, spread the news. And if you go on the grindhouseradio.com, you go into our calendar, you'll see, at least for the next 3 weeks, who's coming up next. So this way you can help spread the news and figure out who we're going to be talking about, ahead of time, and maybe have a little bit more information for when we get on and have a good argument for us. Yeah. So thanks so much, guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Be well, and we'll speak soon.